Just so I can show my paddling buddies the paddles. We kayak. The kayak paddles are different anyway. But and this is
Fort Michilimackinac.
Fort Michilimackinac.
The beaver fur and processing them, and that's because this is a resource that's scarce over in Europe and relatively plentiful here. So if you're a merchant, what you're doing is just moving things to wherever they're the most valuable, getting these furs off to Europe where they can be turned into hats and trimmed for clothing, and then also getting these manufactured goods, these trade goods, from really all of the world.
It's a nice, simple gate-like table. The disadvantage of it is, with the leaf down, you can't really sit at it. But you can fold the leaves down during the day and put them up against the wall. Save a lot of space when you're not eating. And a nice bench to go with it.
That was a big political advantage actually to marry into our different nations. It was a big distinction that the French made. When they get here, they understand in none of our histories does it say any of our three Anishinaabe nations have gone to war with each other. Don't necessarily always get along, but we've never gone to war. So when they make that distinction, they understand when you marry into one Anishinaabe nation, that means you now have support and access to that support from all three of us. Now for me as an Odawa lady, I see the same kind of advantage. Marrying into a French family, that means a whole nother country's network of kinship and extended relatives I can now connect with. People you can rely on and do business with. Now when we look at the history of this space, right, we usually have three big sources that we're going through, right? We've talked a little bit about archaeology, literally digging through, finding pieces that have been left behind for us. You can look at things like my tribe's oral histories, that practice of sharing family history through the generations by just telling stories, singing songs. Now, another big resource is simply paperwork, just hard paperwork. And when you look at the paperwork from the Chevalier home, you're able to see Marie's signature on work vouchers here at Michilimackinac. And while her husband, Jean-Baptiste, he puts in a lot of his effort helping to run their business from east in Montreal or west in Green Bay and communicating back and forth when he can't be here physically. Even after Jean-Baptiste passes in 1746, in June of the next year, her signature shows up again. And Marie's signature continues to show up for the next 10 years.
Michilimackinac. It's a pretty nice place. A lot of recreated buildings, a lot of knowledge-educated interpreters who give programs every half hour or hour. And right outside the doors of the fort, we have the water. Which off to the left becomes Lake Michigan, and off to the right becomes the straits that lead down eventually out to the Atlantic Ocean. This is the old Mackinac Point Lighthouse. $75 to $150 shipwrecks. And here at the lighthouse they have a recreation of a early solar powered clothes dryer. getting to the rail bridge. Starting here. If anybody asks what the Upper Peninsula of Michigan is like, trees. Lots of trees. Lake Superior. Here we are. You know something? All the Great Lakes look a lot alike. There's a shoreline in the foreground and there's water. Along the right side here, there's all the little cottages and maybe some full-time homes, whatever, that back up to Lake Superior. We're in paradise. At least that's what the signs say. After spending the whole day yesterday learning to say Michilimackinac, now we leave there and I have to try to say Tahquamenon. Yeah, good luck. This is the Lower Falls. Part of it's over there, and part of it's over here. Bub. The upper portion of one branch of the Lower Falls. This is the bridge across to the island which splits the river and makes the two pieces of the Lower Falls. This is looking upstream, the left-hand side of the Lower Falls. '20, '21, '22, '23, '24, '25. Yeah, a lot of stairs. Finally to the bottom. Look who I found here. Did you go down the stairs?
I did.
Tahquamenon Falls, the Upper Falls. Pretty nice. Not a lot of water this time of year, but they say in the spring with a lot more water it's really more impressive, but you're here when you're here. Make a left.
Trail to the park.
We're taking a detour. We're going back through the woods. A nature trail to the parking lot. Whatever. This way we get the paved road and the nature trail.
The twofer.
It's not trees.
Tahquamenon Logging Museum.
The remains of a timber frame building. You see a lot of drawings of the style of joints for the corners. And those corners there are pretty nice. But you come over to the other side of the building, some of the corners aren't so perfect. Big variation in size there. then up here you got ones with the round bottom. They're not as perfect as in the drawings you see. And here's one in better condition with all the chinking between the logs. Not a bad place inside. Could imagine living there. Not quite sure what it is. It's a press, but big in diameter with a little pan at the bottom. What do you put in between? To open it that wide and then press it. Now if you need a chainsaw to cut a tree, you take these two handles and somebody else grabs the handle at the other end. Back in the day, but it's an improvement over these things. A collection of old chainsaws and hand saws. Those were the days, boy.
From rural and urban areas. Some came from as far away
This is a saw
as
sharpening
Tennessee.
bench.
One of my friends, a real rough friend, he got to drinking too much 3-2 beer. And consequently, we couldn't find him when it was time for the truck to go back to camp. So I went looking for him, and we both missed the truck back to camp. So we slept in the alley that night, and we walked.
Know something, you back to class, oh, don't ever come to me, and I'll take time to help you. I got my 8th grade diploma, and then I took journal. And each enrollee make out a budget for himself. Oh man. This means you can't
Nice
do business
fork.
with loan sharks.
And here's the cook stove. You're gonna make food for a lot of people. The Pratt School. You want to skid your logs.
Where they came crashing down over the years, and he used This is Chapel Cove. And have any of you ever done anything like this before? No? Well, neither have we. Coming up on our last point of interest here, this is called Spray Falls. Spray Falls is the only waterfall that runs year-round on the pictured rock shoreline. And in the wintertime, it's a gigantic icicle and the water will flow right through the center of it.
Yeah, but if you got one, then I'm
Scenic Sunday Lake.